Great. So good morning. For the record, I'm Chris Young, Chair of the HDC Sign Advisory Committee. Let's confirm access. Members, please respond with an aye when I call your name. Kevin Kuster.
Aye.
Ben Norman.
Aye.
Mark Tone.
Aye.
And for staff, we have Esmeralda Martinez.
Present.
So this open meeting of the HDC's SAC is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12th, 2020. That order, posted with the agenda materials for this meeting, allows public bodies to convene remotely so long as public access to deliberations is reasonably provided. This meeting is convening via Zoom with video and audio recording and will be available on the town's YouTube channel. We will feature public comment. Materials provided to the members during the meeting are, unless otherwise noted, available on the town's website. During the meeting, I'll introduce the agenda, topics, and speakers. Please remember to mute your audio until your name's called. Let's direct comments and questions through the chair to avoid crosstalk and make the taking of minutes easier. And votes will be conducted by roll call. So let's move on to our agenda. We'll call to order at 9:02 on June 21st, 2022. Do we have a motion to approve our agenda?
So moved.
Motion.
Thanks, Kevin. Have a second?
Second.
Thanks, Mark. Ben, are you in favor?
Aye.
And Mark,
Aye.
Kevin,
Aye.
and I am as well. We also have two sets of minutes to approve. Does anybody want to comment on those or make a motion for approval?
Move to approve.
All right, thanks. Anybody want to second that?
Second.
Great, Mark. Ben, are you in favor?
Aye.
And Kevin
Aye.
and Mark?
Aye.
I am as well. All right. I apologize for the phone in the background. Let's move on to our first old business topic for 21 South Water Street projecting sign.
Good morning, everyone. Chip Webster here, representing the application, and I have the owner, Lee, with me as well. And if we can, we'd love to, can I share the screen, or would you rather?
You can share.
Yeah, sure. Esmeralda.
Okay, excellent. Okay, did this come up all right?
Looks like it's working on it. Okay, Chip, it looks up on my screen at least.
Excellent. Well, thank you, everyone. The initial viewing of this, there were 4 responses and comments by the board. So I want to walk through those and show how we've responded to each of those. The first was a request for the master sign plan for the building, which we have here. This is the front elevation of the building. There's one existing sign, which is the Nantucket Surf Club. It's a 23-inch diameter round sign, and you can see it's located on this side of the building. Our proposed location for the Nantaco sign is on the opposite side of the building over here, adjacent to the entry for the business. There were comments about the 15% logo on the sign and so forth. So we have assembled, and also the colors on the sign. So we assembled a lot of downtown precedents. You can see these are 4 examples here of signs where the logo basically is the entire sign. These are signs that have a variety of colors. And then these are also signs that are the shape of the logo. So here's a lot of existing downtown precedent of hanging signs, specifically that reflect a large use of the logo. This is the graphic that we had presented before. Lee, as I temporarily put the sign up so you could see what it looks like in context. 2 things. You can see the distance between the proposed location and the existing location of the other sign on the building. You can see that they are similar in scale. And this is a photograph that shows that the colors are actually much more muted than the graphic had represented in the initial application. And then the fourth item that was mentioned by the board was the request for a border on the sign. So you can see that there is a border around the perimeter that's painted onto the face of the sign. So those were the, as I understand, the four comments, and that's how we responded to each of those four. I think Lee would like to say hello as well.
Hi, thanks for revisiting this. We took the four comments that were made at the last meeting, and Chip and I spent a lot of time working through those so that we can be in compliance. I just want to say that we're a new business on the island, and we've been working with a lot of different town departments, from select board to health department to Amy Baxter with our permits, and it's been a pleasure working with everybody. We're really excited to be open. We have a very small footprint. Our frontage is only 6 feet, so our sign is very important to us. I hope we've satisfied all the questions and concerns, so we can get open.
So with that, we'll turn it over to the board for comments. Thank you.
All right, thanks,
Yeah,
guys.
happy to go back to either of the other images if you'd like.
Yeah, Chip, before we open it up to the board, let me ask you this. There was a question about, I think it was a barrel that's in front that has the Nantaco logo on it that was over by the entrance. Is that still there?
So that's actually owned by my landlord, and he just put that there because we didn't have room inside. That's, I believe, has since been removed. That's not part of our application. That won't be anywhere in view on the sidewalk in front of the building. That's actually going in the back of his pickup truck.
Okay, the barrel that we're talking
The
about.
barrel, yeah. He's a friend
Okay.
and an investor and my landlord. So when the sign painters were doing some logoing inside, they painted that, and he just didn't have room for it. So that is, I think as of yesterday, is gone.
Okay, and are there any other signs that you expect to see, a menu box, chalkboard, anything else that would be visible from the public way?
No.
Okay, great, just to put everything in perspective. So let's open it up to the board. Ben, do you want to comment?
Is this old business? I just don't know if I'm allowed to talk on it. I wasn't here last time.
Okay, it is actually under old business. So we'll go over to Kevin.
Yeah, I appreciate what you've done. However, I think it's a little bit disingenuous. Two questions regarding the application. I just want to make sure that the master sign plan of this is actually approved by the landlord, so that we have that for any future tenants.
It is.
Secondly, is that on the signed documents, it says MDF, and on the sign application, the material is noted as wood. So we should be consistent, and it should be wood according to the guidelines. It's interesting to see the other logos. I think the other signs, the majority of those do have a serif font, and some of them I'm familiar with, and some I weren't, or I'm not. So I can't really comment on how they got to where they are, but they were all discussed, I believe. I still haven't. I think the biggest issue for me is, still the typography. It is not at all representative of the time period and and what we're supposed to be reflecting on. We gave you guys an option. If you want that at 15%, you can have it. But I think we need to start to be consistent, especially with the logos that don't have a serif font and that don't quite fit. We've had people like Xfinity and FedEx having to change logos to fit our guidelines, and I think that this applicant should be doing that too. And I think in this case, I'd be more comfortable if we had actual color submissions so that we know what they are, if this design still keeps going forward. Thank you.
All right, thanks. Mark, do you want to make a comment?
I would agree with what's been said as far as colors. The sign's in place. It's been there since Friday, at least. So you can walk by and see the colors. It's pretty accurate as to the photo. But I don't think I have anything additional to add. Thank you.
Okay. I think Paul was, Paul, you have not joined us. Is that correct?
Yes, I am. I'm
Oh,
here.
Paul, you are here. Thanks. Do you want to make any comments?
I heard the end of Kevin's comments. I would agree with them. The colors are, I don't think appropriate downtown, especially.
Okay. Okay, and I think so. Chip and Lee, just to kind of give you guys some context on those 15% and the other signs that you pointed out. They are serifed in most cases, or they are block lettering, which is approved, like Faraday. And I think that it's not quite apples to apples, unfortunately. So we are trying to figure out how to get your logo to comply with the guidelines. And unfortunately, the guidelines call for the 15% size limitation if you're going to go with a logo that, or a font as part of your logo that is not in compliance with either serifed or the block letters. So not sure how we can get around that. Does anybody on the, let me just, before you go back, is there any comment coming from the board regarding the location of the sign, the fact that that's the sign for the business, just so that we can
Nope.
kind of address that? I think that it, personally, I feel it's appropriate. Does anybody have any other concerns about that?
No concerns with location.
Okay.
No
So,
comment.
all right. So Chip, I'll go back to you and Lee. If you
Yeah,
have questions.
I guess one question, just so we fully understand the 15%. It appears to me that all of the reference and precedent signs we're looking at here exceed 15% by a large margin. I mean, some of them it's the entire sign. So I just want to make sure I understand that requirement. I mean, look, all summer shades, it's maybe you're considering the sunglasses logo, but Surf Club, that's definitely more than 15%. It's a shore thing. It's the entire sign. The beat, that's more. So I just want to make sure I understand that. So if you could explain the 15% requirement a little more.
I don't know. I guess the only comment I'd make on that, Chris, would be is sometimes the logo. Now, some of these examples go way back. I don't think even this board sat on some of these, and some might be questioned if they were being applied for today. But I know in some cases a logo, even though technically it's a logo, the logo can be acceptable as a sort of a traditional logo, and it's a little more accepting and fitting to the context. Whereas we have other logos that are clearly more contemporary and more challenging. And in some cases, sometimes a logo, I think in maybe the case of Backyard Barbecue, they went with the natural wood, which toned it down. But even when I look at all of these, they're actually a little bit more fitting than what we're seeing in the application itself. So when a logo is completely, I don't know, call it alien to the guideline, that's when we request the 15%. I think all of these have somewhat worked within the guidelines. So they're acceptable in terms of a graphic. I would say the only exception, if I have to be honest, is the summer shades. Again, I think that we're, and even that, it's a block letter. The letters, the typography is maybe acceptable as a capital, given it's capitalized. And then, you know, they did use the logo of the sun, the sunglasses itself might be within 15%. So, you know, that's on a little bit questionable, but other than that, I mean, hopefully that's helpful, Chip, in terms of like how we judge the 15% rule. If we have a good applicant who's fixed on their logo, then we can work with it as long as it's only 15% of the area. And sometimes that logo is contextual, it works, and we're able to use it in a larger field of the sign surface itself.
So thank you, Mark. Just so I fully understand that, am I correct in interpreting that these precedents, because of other reasons, they might be appropriate for more than 15%, such as the colors or the natural wood, as in back barbecue, or the graphics or in colors are more, quote, traditional, so that would allow them to exceed the 15%? Is that kind of what you're saying?
I think so. It certainly comes into play. You know, if I look at John Ruggs, that's a traditional typography, almost hand scripted, and certainly a flower pot is acceptable for in town. The beat is a logo, a symbol, and their logo, I guess. But the way the beat itself was scripted, it's serifed. You know, Faraday is all subdued and a traditional sign shape even. Even Nantucket Surf Club, I think we worked with them on toning his colors or more muted, and I believe he complied with changing his font style as well to a serif, which helped. Of course, the Brotherhood logo goes back decades and has history. Lemon Press, very simple, you know, much like the beat, and again they used a serif font. And so therefore it sort of works. Short thing, I don't remember even sitting on, not one of my favorites, to be honest, but yeah, that's at least as a member. I don't know if I've spoken for all the members in terms of the way we interpret that guideline. That's helpful.
Yeah, Mark,
the only other thing I would add is that there's an assumption being made that these signs are all logos, when indeed I don't think we know that for sure. I mean, I've seen different graphics on Lemon Press vehicles and things and their signs. So to assume they are all logos is an assumption at best.
Agreed.
Yeah, thanks, Kevin. Thanks, Mark. I think, Chip, the real key is the font. I think that's where, you know, the question of logo and font are kind of being melded together here. It's one thing to show graphics, but it's the lettering that we're having a hard time with, I think, and where you're saying the lettering is our brand, then it becomes, it falls under the logo definition.
All right, well, thank you very much for your comments. We will make some revisions and come back to you.
All right, thanks. Before you go, let's just get you some clear direction. Does the board have a feeling about the sun being part of the logo, and if we're able to bring the font area into 15% compliance, would we be looking at an approvable sign? Just getting a poll of the board so that Chip and Lee have some direction. All right, I'll just go around the horn. Kevin, what do you feel about that?
Possibly. I'm not. Yeah, possibly. I guess you need to see it. I mean, you know, as a graphic, it certainly gets attention, and at the same time, it's that combination of the type of the graphic that is just feels a little uncomfortable in the context of the rest of the signs in my mind. But I would agree that the typography is probably the most radical.
Okay, Paul, your feeling on that?
Yeah, when you talk about the sun, do you mean just the sun or the sun and the rays?
Sun and the rays, I'm just thinking, is the graphic and the font everybody's concern, or I think it's the font that jumps out at me. I'm not sure if that's everybody's opinion.
I would agree with that. The actual sun might be shrunk down a little bit because it's going to be tight putting those letters into a format that we probably would approve. So just for food for thought. But yeah, I agree that the lettering is the biggest problem.
All right, and Mark?
Yeah, I would agree with it said. I think I can live with the graphics. I think the font is the largest challenge, and then I wouldn't mind seeing the colors muted slightly too. They're a bit bright, but yeah, that's my take.
Okay. All right, so Chip and Lee, just trying to give you guys some food for thought there. Any questions that you have?
No, thank you for that additional information. I think we have what we need to make some revisions.
All right, so let's make a motion then for this. We will hold for revisions. There's
So moved.
great, and a second.
Second.
Thanks, Kevin. Mark, you in favor?
Aye.
And Paul
Aye.
and Kevin?
Aye.
All right, thanks. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to new business. So welcome back, Ben. 18 Federal Street, do we have anybody on the line representing that?
Mr. Chairman, we do not. This is one of the applications that last week you saw but did not approve because it was not on the agenda.
Oh,
Or didn't
okay.
do a motion on it, but you guys were okay with it. I don't know if you
Yeah.
want me to bring it up again or.
Yeah, let's just, we'll go in order here. So go ahead, bring that up. Okay. Does anybody have any?
I feel like we looked at this and we wanted Nantucket removed from it.
Yeah,
Yes, I second that.
You
And
did. Per my notes, you were okay with it, just with the removal of the word Nantucket, and it should be a serif font.
right. So they made,
They have
Revision.
not made any adjustments to it. I think he was under the impression that it would be more like a staff approval. As long as he provided that information, you guys would be okay with it. But I
okay,
can
so
reach out. I
we
can
can
reach
make
out
a
to him
motion.
if he needs to provide new revisions.
we can make a motion for staff approval, assuming the removal of Nantucket and serifing the font.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, thanks, Ben. Thanks. Mark, you in favor?
Aye.
And Kevin?
Aye.
And Ben?
Aye.
And Paul?
Aye.
I am as well. Okay. Great. Thanks, Esmeralda. All right, I see Jason is on the line. Jason, would you like to discuss the Fairwinds application?
Sure. Caitlin is here too from Sign here in Nantucket, who's been, I think, here more than me, and also
Okay.
Wendy, who's been helping. Our goal is to just get direction from you on where the best placement is on the building and any other changes so we can get something up. I think we're getting closer, but if you, Caitlin, do you want to, or Chris, do you want to?
Go ahead. If Caitlin wants to kind of walk us through anything new that you're presenting, go for it.
Yeah, well, this is technically an existing application, so this is just revising it. The main revision here is placement. Originally, we had submitted it above the awning, and so we're now moving it to the side, and we also include some exact measurements so you can get a sense for the space.
Okay. Let's open it up to the board for discussion. Paul?
it's not clear to me where they're proposing the sign. Is it above the window but below the second shop sign?
It is the second shop sign, actually. I think they're showing, there's two, looks like two height options being presented there by the two pictures, but that is the sign they're applying for. The white quarter
Yeah,
board.
no, I get it, again.
Oh.
I think there was some talk of putting it on over the under the roof on the side, but I don't have any
Right.
problem. I don't have any problem with that.
Okay. With where it's located. Mark?
Yeah, I think this is an improvement. Thank you.
Okay, Ben?
Yeah, I think we're finally there. I know this has been a hard one to figure out where the sign goes, but I think over that picture window is the right location for it.
All right, Kevin?
I would agree, though. I feel like the one where it's a little bit closer to the window.
Mhm.
Yeah, that version. I think that feels like it belongs more on the first floor and directs people a little bit better than it does when it's higher. So that would be my only comment. It feels like it works with the window and that space better.
Okay. Jason, is that, I'm imagining that street view is part of the consideration. Is it, have you looked at it? Is it better, higher, lower? Is this location that's showing right now gonna work for you?
I think we prefer a little higher one because no one enters into this side of the building. They enter on the other side. So it's people who are walking by or maybe who don't know, where it is and they're looking because there's a lot going on there with the gas station. And so I think we're okay with either one. We just want to get a sign up on front. I think we prefer the higher one, but I understand what Kevin is saying. But no one really enters into that door that you see in this picture. It's the other side of the building.
And it just help me with the picture of the higher one looks to me like it's a little bit off center. It looks like it's a little to the left. Or is that just my interpretation of that photograph? I would like to see it centered on that window, just I think for, the proper placement.
Can you go to the second one, the next picture? Yeah, I think that might be just to show you. We can definitely center it, I think.
Yeah, I just think that's important that it's looking centered. And probably a little lower than that, but in my opinion, I think you could maybe go up a shingle course or two from where you propose, but maybe not this high, so that it's clearly under the height of that roof line. Would anybody like to make a motion?
Can I ask a question first?
Sure, Paul.
Chairman? Is this related? Is this organization related at all to NAMI of Cape Cod or Nantucket Behavioral Health Advisory Group?
No, it's for Fairwinds. So all the proceeds from Second Shop benefit Fairwinds, which benefits behavioral health on the island.
Okay, thank
Part
you.
of the two groups you just mentioned.
Okay. So I'll move approval.
I'll second.
And that's based on the comment of lowering it slightly from this image and centered
And centered, yes.
over the window. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm in approval of that motion.
And Paul?
Yes, aye.
Okay, and Mark?
Aye.
And Ben?
Aye.
Okay, I am as well. So thank you, Caitlin, Jason.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right, Nantucket Dreamland. Is anybody on the line?
Hi, everyone.
For that.
It's Jacqueline from the Film Festival. So this is for the Film Festival temporary signs.
Okay. And these have been approved in the past?
They have
Yes.
previously been approved.
Okay, same look.
Same locations. The only change is our admin office, which is just here in the center of town at 0 India Street. The previous location that was approved does no longer exist. It was on C Street, where all those buildings were torn down.
Okay,
And I can say that we couldn't really tell with like previous pictures that we had of the building, but it's where the awning, where the inside awning is where the flag is.
Okay, so is this a collection? How many signs are we looking at here?
We're looking at 2 at the Dreamland and 1 over at 12 Oak Street and 1 at 0 India Street.
Okay, let's look at these sort of one at a time. We'll
Right.
take the Dream first. We'll go across the board. Paul, do you have any comments?
I have no comments.
Ben,
Nope, looks fine.
Mark?
No, I think they're fine. I think they're already up, aren't they?
Well, the ones at 0 India are here. 12 Oak.
12 Oak is
I'm really sorry, guys.
12 Oak is fully signed already. I
Yeah,
walked by
yeah,
that yesterday,
yeah.
so this is a little bit of a.
I
late
yeah,
here.
yeah.
But I guess I don't have any concerns either.
All right, Kevin?
I don't have any concerns with any of them. I'm curious. I know it's on the application. That's just a little small for me to read here. Is what, how long are they up for?
They're up just this week and they'll be down
okay.
on Monday. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
All right.
I'd make a motion to approve all 3 of these.
Second,
Okay. Mark, you have a vote?
Aye.
Ben?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
Kevin?
Aye.
All right,
Thank you all.
thank you. Good luck with the
Come
fest-
see the festival, come see films.
Yeah.
All right,
All right. Thanks, guys.
will do. Thanks. All right, we have 0 India Street.
We just did
Oh,
all
that's
3 of
all.
those.
We just
Those
did.
are all
All 3 of those. Okay, so that's great. Let's skip enforcement for the moment, and HAFSA, I think, is on the line. So Kevin, you attended the meeting of the HDC. I don't know if everybody's had a chance to YouTube that, but you want to give us a review of how that went? Disregard-
Yeah, actually, Ben and I were there. It was basically, my interpretation is that it was, being remanded back to us to determine some course of action. They really didn't say what that action should be. I think it's probably a good idea to keep it on our agenda for a while and see if anybody else has comments or anything new to add. Or we could come up with some sort of a way to get a handle on these kinds of things. As we just saw, we had an application for a banner that was temporary and it's going to be up for the week. And I don't see that, personally, I don't see that these, flower decorations are any different than the banner. They're just calling attention to what's going on at that location. And either we do it on a temporary basis, like we just did, or treat them as we would, rope lights or umbrellas or all those things that are not quite fitting in. So the other, another option is to, if I don't think it's necessary, but if anybody else does, we could do like we did with the Builders Association signs and draft a new paragraph to put into the guidelines, specifically to this type of, this type of treatment. But I'm not sure that that's worth the expense for the town to do, but that would be another path to take on it.
All right, Ben,
I haven't seen any others come up or any others go down, so that's all I can add, I guess.
gotcha. Ben, do you have any?
Yeah, I think the HDC board decided that it was a sign advisory board issue and not really something they wanted to think about. It's kind of a long time ago, so I gotta remember exactly that. Kevin, did they say they wanted us to have a public debate about it? Like have some like published, time that everybody can get together and talk about it? Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of nodding in the audience here, so I think that was done.
It seemed to be, I don't know that they were calling for a public hearing,
Oh.
but I believe that getting public input, and that's why I think it should perhaps stay on the agenda for a little while longer. But I don't know if anybody else, and we've had a letter or two from people that are not in favor of this. I don't know if we've received anything from people who are. I'd also be curious, I guess, as to what the building owner's perspective is on this. We're talking to a fabricator and not a landlord, and I think that's perhaps they might not even be aware of the discussion either. So
Yeah. Another thing that the HDC kind of urged us to look at was, where these things fall within our guidelines. What are they exactly? If it's not a landscaping element, it's a decoration, and does it fall within? At what language in our guidelines does this decoration fall under? And I think it should be up to us to just look at our guidelines again and kind of highlight where we think it is. I'm still of the mind that if it was a natural plant growing up these buildings, then that's one thing and acceptable. But because it's synthetic materials, I'm having a hard time, accepting them as an approvable thing. So I think the HDC wants us to, come to a determination of why these are, what the guidelines for these should be if we're going to allow them. But generally, they don't want to deal with it. They want us to deal with it. So.
Okay, Mark or Paul, do you guys want to? I'm going to open it up to the public that is online here. But before we do, Mark or Paul, do you have any comments that you'd like to make?
I don't know that I've had anything new to add. I think we discussed this at some length, maybe at our last meeting. And I also agree. I did watch the HDC meeting. I think they just wanted to let this run, as Kevin implied, a handful of meetings so that there's a good public process in this, and that the general public will have had several opportunities to have weighed in. At the moment, I don't think we've seen much. We haven't heard from property owners. We haven't heard from others. I think some letters or emails were sent to the HDC board itself or the administrators. And I think some of that has been shared with us, I guess. But I don't know if anything new has come in since. So I don't know if we want to actually say what this would be technically meeting 2, and I believe it was posted on the agenda for the HDC board. So I think it's been noticed 3 times now for discussion. Do we go 2 more for a total of 5 and then arrive at some summary, which then is presented back to the board itself and let them to make sort of the final opinion based on our recommendations? It feels like it's just kind of floating out there right now with no real definition. And I'm wondering if we can kind of define this a little bit further in terms of maybe making a statement and working towards making a statement and concluding the public review process. Other than whether, to Kevin's point also, I don't know that we have to proactively reach out to a property owner. The property owner, I guess, hasn't come to us, and this is a public process. That's on them. So that's my take, but specifically to the materials and so on, I don't have anything new to add that hasn't been discussed already. Thanks.
Okay, and Paul? Any thoughts?
I would agree with what Mark said, and I think we should leave it on for at least one more meeting. In the meanwhile, someone needs to think about how would we word whatever we're going to word as an addition or commentary in our guidelines.
Okay, so I see there's Hafsa, Brenda, and Sign here is still on the line. Hafsa, I'm sure you're here for this subject. Or Brenda, are you here for this subject? Why don't I open it up to you to begin? And is Sign here also here for this subject? Just before Brenda talks. Oh, Sign here's off. Okay, so we'll have Brenda speak and then Hafsa. Go ahead, Brenda.
Okay, thank you so much. I have now joined the building world the last couple of years after my many years at the hospital. So quite frankly, I never would have known about this kind of stuff until I jumped in and worked for Joe. But more importantly, I sit and watch the HDC meetings constantly. And we sit in this office and we try to be mindful of the fenestrations, the doors, the color, the building, the height, everything that's peculiar to Nantucket that makes it special. I actually grew up here too. So, and if it was a wisteria that was climbing up the side of a building, that would be great. If it was the New Dawn roses, that would be great. But the flowers in the Hafsa, you know, this is not about you. I don't care that they're silk. I don't care that they're biodegradable. What I care about is that they don't look like they belong on Nantucket. They belong on Nantucket during the Daffodil Festival for a few days, or, you know, at Christmas time. But this is, I mean, I'm seeing things that have been up there for a very, very long time. And the flowers aren't even peculiar to Nantucket. They look tropical. They don't look like they fit into the Sconset cottages or the kind of feel that we're trying to create on Nantucket. You know, when you have these, listening to the sign comments, and you're talking about a sign, a banner sign for the Dreamland, and the Dreamland is only going to have it up for so long. Well, these things have been up forever. I think there's been one on Center Street that's been there for several years. And I just think that we need to get a grip on this. There's a whole application process. We all know what the HDC is. We all know what the sign process is. And I don't believe that there's anything that's sort of roping this whole faux flowers in. And as far as the community goes, how are they going to know that this is a topic of conversation unless it's a specific thing that they know about? I've been polling people to get a sense of what they think of the flowers, and the people are not necessarily in for it. But I don't know that they think that there's going to be a public comment. I don't know. I don't know how this works. So anyways, that's all I wanted to say.
Okay, thanks, Brenda. Hafsa,
Oh,
would you like to make some comments?
Yeah, I would just like to speak a little bit to some of the things that were mentioned here today. And thank you for everybody for your honesty and transparency. I think that the disparity between faux and fresh flowers is still a point of contention and incredibly subjective. I think that, to Brenda's point, the public certainly doesn't know. I haven't shared, I'm happy to, with my clients. I think there's a lot of people that would want to weigh in on this, and I don't know how to necessarily do that, whether it's encouraging them to attend this meeting or a petition. I would love to hear some feedback from the board on best practices for something like that, because, you know, the people that are loving this and purchasing these things have a lot to say. I think that the installation that Brenda is referring to on Center Street, as I mentioned in the last meeting, was done by a wedding planner here that, you know, had to survive through COVID and had, you know, if she knew that this was a kind of contention, she would take it down immediately. I think that regulating makes sense. My concern is that the time that it would take to regulate something like this would potentially put me out of a job. And that is incredibly concerning because we have a lot of small businesses here who want this. I don't respectfully disagree that the flowers that I am personally using don't suit Nantucket. I think that hydrangeas and roses and sunflowers and are absolutely aligned with the history of Nantucket. And so I'm not opposed or contending this idea of making sure that it fits with Nantucket. My concern is that how in the busy season how long will that take, right? Like if a business says, okay, I would love to do something really beautiful on the outside of my building, and I apply for that, how long will that take? Is it 2 weeks? Is it a month? And then we're well into the summer. And if there's a time restriction, are we halfway through the time restriction? It's so complex. And, I do think that if we're encouraging, again, I'll reiterate this island-wide to celebrate our our island-wide celebrations like Daffy and Stroll and 4th of July. And, that's pretty much our season. So where do we say yes to, on a Wednesday, but no to Daffodil Festival or no to our wreath on Brant Point? Last summer there was a wreath that went up on Brant Point that had nothing to do with Daffodil or 4th of July or Stroll, but it went up and the community loved it. So I guess I just want to reiterate that I do think, and to Mark's point, I would love to sort of speed this along, because I do know that a lot of people have a lot to say, but I just think it's not clear where and how to say it and when. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Well, I think this is the forum for it. I mean, clearly the HDC's asked us to be the board that holds the public meetings. So if you have any clients or anybody that wants to speak, I think this is the place to do it. I don't know that there's going to be another opportunity. And I also watched the YouTube video. The board weighed in. They certainly had opinions, but it seemed like they were they even used the term kicking the can back to us. So it's clearly a subject that we're not set up by regulation. There's now, like, we turn to page 3 of the guidelines and we know exactly what to do here. We're trying to feel this out. This is a new subject for us. We've addressed things like it before with rope lighting, with LED lighting, neon lighting. And, they could be, you could say that they're different than flowers, but they're in the same sort of context where it's not a sign per se, but the way to attract attention to the business. So I don't disagree with the HDC board putting it back in this, by definition of a sign. This could be considered in our purview. So I don't think any of us have the answer here. I think we should continue the public hearing process, encouraging people on both sides that want to speak to be able to come out here and voice their opinion. This will be available on YouTube so that it can be shared if other people want to watch the HDC meeting, watch this meeting, so that they can kind of get some background that's available. And clearly we're not going to resolve anything today. I think that we're all just sort of hearing everybody's opinions, and it's clear that something will have to be done. Some decision has to be made.
Yeah, Chris.
Kevin.
Couple things that I think are important to clear up. It bothers me a little bit that we tell the guy who has a new business with a new logo on a less than 2 square feet that he needs to change his typography when all he's asking for is a sign, and we ask him to comply. And we have people who, if the same applicant decided to put orange and yellow flowers over, 20% of his, 6-foot storefront, I think we'd have a different opinion of it. So I think it's highly unfair to regulate somebody and then just let somebody go freewheeling with it. I also want to point out that this is not about whether, in my mind, this is not about whether these flowers are faux or not. Yes, faux flowers are everywhere, and they're primarily used for decorative purposes, for holidays, window boxes, and so forth. While having them strung across the fronts of buildings may be innovative, I don't think it's appropriate on Nantucket. And I think the longer we keep beating this around, it's just going to, my opinion is we already have a regulation for it, and we should just enforce. If people want to apply, they can apply. We could take it on a case-by-case basis. But if they don't, we end up with just like that wedding planner. Nobody's telling them what to do because that's where it started. We were ready to contact them 2 years ago. So I think it's a little bit on us for not acting fast enough. And I think that this needs to be dealt with before it gets even further out of hand. That's my opinion.
I just
All
make
right,
a-
well,
I'm
yeah.
sorry.
Go ahead, Hafsa, you want to make a comment?
I just wanted to speak. I forgot to mention the question about the landlord. So I actually do work really closely with NIR, who explicitly state on their contracts that they don't allow anything on the outside of their buildings. But I work with them directly, and I show them a drawing and I show them what color, and you know, it's to their discretion, you know. So I just want there to be like the sort of acknowledgement that we are completely respecting the wishes of the landlords, and I personally am discussing that with them. It's not just like we throw them up there and don't talk to anybody about it. Mostly that's the client, and I provide the client whatever the landlord needs. And I just want to mention that because it did come up, and I just don't want the board to think that anything is being done willy-nilly. We ask permission well in advance from landlords. We provide drawings. I explain what flowers we're using for the most part, unless they had to make a substitution. So I do want that, you know, just want you guys to know that.
Okay, and Brenda, I see your hand is up. One thing is the landlord is the person responsible to us in the sense of even any sign application, it might be the tenant that brings it to us, but it's the landlord that's responsible. If there are violations, they're the ones that get the notice. Ultimately, they're the ones responsible for the fines. So clearly they would be involved. But Brenda, do you have a comment?
Well, I do. Thank you. So Hafsa, it's sort of, when I'm listening to you, it almost sounds like you're the only show in town that's doing this. And then at the meeting the last time, you indicated that several people were doing this. So this isn't about one person, just like there's not one sign thing. This is about the whole principle of the signs and the flowers. And I completely agree with Kevin. But are you the only one that's doing it? Because last time you said there were several people.
No, and I'm the only one here that can speak to what I'm doing. I can't speak to anybody else.
Okay.
But
And
no, I am not.
Let me interrupt you. I think what we'll do is we want to keep it, the subject will be, the conversation needs to be on the subject of appropriateness and approvability as opposed to who the players are. I think it's important that we don't cross that line.
And Chris,
So Kevin, to your point, I just wanted to say, Hafsa, you mentioned timing. That's something that in any regulatory process, we can't control how quickly a client might want something to be installed. If they can't plan ahead and work with you ahead of time to let the process, whatever process we end up with, take its course, that's clearly going to be something we can't worry about. We can only, follow the application timing and approval timing that has already been set up. And to Kevin's point, I think, Kevin, I know you want to get this moved along, but the board has asked for public hearings. So we need to at least keep this open for more people to weigh in. At the moment, we've got Brenda Hafsa's opinion, but I'd like to at least let this go another meeting. I think even, perhaps 2 meetings to just let people weigh in. It's important that this isn't something that, that's my personal opinion, but I know your opinion, Kevin. Mark, you were going to say something.
Yeah, I guess I was going to convey mine as well. And I'm going to do this, and I have to jump out of this meeting. But I feel like we have made exceptions for what are clearly non-traditional materials, banners and things of that nature. And they are up for a period of time. They are reviewed. We reviewed the content. We reviewed the material, the positioning, the location of it. And I guess to Kevin's point, we already have guidelines in place for that. So if this falls into that category, my thought is we don't say, no, you can never do this again. My opinion is, if you want to do this, apply for it. And we will review it on a case-by-case basis. We will review the location of it, the content, and how far, how long it's up for a period. And yet still no guarantee, actually, we will approve of such. That's my take. I think I'm going to be in the minority on this, but I just wanted to put that out to the rest of the members so they can chew on it until we meet another 2 weeks. That's sort of where I was leaning, is that if we have enough interest in people that want to pursue this, we can review it. But again, there's no guarantee. We don't approve every banner. We don't approve the location of every banner. We don't approve the time period requested either. It's sometimes they went up for a whole summer and it gets down to a few weeks. So maybe that's the guideline we follow for this particular request. Thank you.
Chris, we might want to consider getting an opinion from HSAB since this is in the core historic area mostly, to see what HSAB's opinion is. I think we know what it will be, but just for the record, I think that would be another way to get input. So maybe Holly, you could put that on their agenda, and I'm happy to attend, or somebody else can attend.
Will they have a meeting? Will they have a meeting before our next meeting, Esmeralda? What's their
They
time?
usually have meetings every Monday, so I'll make sure I place it on the agenda.
Okay, that would be great. And then we could invite them to come to the next, or have a representative here at the next meeting. That would be
Great.
good.
We'll do that.
All right. Paul or Ben, you guys have anything you want to add?
I'm all set.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think Mark's onto something as far as temporary, 4th of July, daffodil. I think, obviously being it a reviewed thing, but having them permanently affixed to these buildings, I think is an application that can be submitted, but I think it might be a tough one for us to approve.
All right. So I think everybody's expressed their opinion for the day. Should we have a motion to continue this public
Motion
hearing?
to continue.
Second.
Thanks. Ben, are you in favor?
Aye.
And Kevin?
Aye.
And Paul?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Okay, I am as well. So thank you, Brendan Hafsa, for your time today. And this will be on the agenda at our next meeting to continue the conversation.
Mr. Chairman, may I
Yes.
ask a question? How can I get this out there? Can I request from HASFA a list of other vendors? Or could you email me a list so I can send out the agenda? Because I do want to get this out there so other people know about it. I don't know if there's a proper way, or just keep posting it on the agenda.
I can certainly send you a list, no problem.
Okay.
Great. Yeah, I think it is tough. I'm not sure we want to, it's not our job to be the bullhorn for the agenda, but I think it would be great to have more public comment. So anybody that has expressed a letter to the board might want to hear about these meetings so that they know it's ongoing as well. Because I know we've received a few. All right, thanks. And so we skipped over enforcement. Do you want to, is there any updates on enforcement, Esmeralda?
Just the usual ones. I sent out enforcements to Friedman's. I have not heard from them. I did send out the one for Stoke a few weeks ago, have not heard from them. So I'll be reaching out again this week.
Can I ask Esmeralda, the Builders Association, or did the Samiello and CMC ever get a letter?
Okay.
I unfortunately have to run before I do. Paul, is it your birthday today? Or
No.
Tomorrow?
No, it's not my birthday today.
Tomorrow.
I can't remember.
Well, happy birthday eventually.
Thanks.
I'll see you guys.
Thank you, Mark. Did you get my note about Raphael Asona's signs all over town?
I'm hoping so
Or was that addressed to me, or was that addressed to Esmeralda?
Oh, I was talking to Esmeralda, but
Sorry, what was the question?
Raphael Asona has posted signs all over town on stop signs, and he did this last summer. He basically is advertising his business at the this place downtown where he holds his auctions. And I think it's inappropriate.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that he needs to be, because on the side of the American Legion, there's also.
Right, and that's where he holds them,
Yeah, that was inappropriate.
Okay.
I don't think he's,
okay. The
maybe
biggest
he's
one,
not aware, but he should be.
The biggest one that bothers me is the car wash.
Oh, the car, yes, yes, I did send that car wash one as well. The open sign and the vacuums are open.
It says opening soon.
Yes.
And now there's not just one A-frame sign, one by the road, there's another one in front of the fishing tackle store. So they're clearly, I don't know who owns it. Does anybody know who owns it, who's doing the car wash?
No, usually what I do is I look in the GIS and I send the courtesy letters to the whoever's listed as the person for the GIS under the
All
owner.
right, okay, so you're on it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
Excellent. Thanks, Paul.
Esmeralda, there's a couple on Center Street. I can't recall if I sent you photos or not. One, there are two different bicycles that are used as signs
I
on
got
Center Street.
one, but I didn't have the address for it. So if you happen to be in town, if you could take those pictures again
Sure.
with the address, that would
Yeah.
help immensely.
Sure, will do.
Okay.
What happened to your bicycle, Kevin?
Yeah. I think DPW took it.
Okay.
All right. Anything else for today? Do you want to make a motion?
It's gonna take.
A motion to adjourn.
Thanks, Ben. Anybody second? Thanks, Paul. Kevin, you in favor?
Hi.
Paul,
Hi.
Ben,
Aye.
me too. Thanks, everybody.
All right.
Thank
See you
you.
guys next week.
Bye-bye.